talking today with Christine Way-Cotter, who's going to be leading a 6-part series all about restorative yoga and yoga nidra. If you don't know what that means, please check out our conversation and you'll learn a lot about it. And then join us on Tuesday nights. We'll be doing this on 6 consecutive Tuesday evenings, starting on January 12th at 7 o'clock. We'll be doing it live on Zoom, and we'll be broadcasting it on YouTube and Facebook. I hope you'll join us. I look forward to seeing you there.
I've done yoga a couple times, and I'm familiar with the idea of yoga. I know there's a lot of different types, and I know that you've been practicing yoga for more than a week or two. You've been doing it for quite some time, and so I want to ask you to tell us exactly how long you've been doing it, but maybe you can give us a sense. I know that I was reading that list of all the different types that you've taught, and I'm sure you've studied even more. Tell me a little bit about how you got interested in the first place in yoga. I'd love to know that.
My interest in yoga started back in the early 90s, when I first started to do massage therapy. And I found that massage therapy was really taxing to my body, so I wanted to do something to balance that out. So a friend suggested to try a yoga class. So I did, and I really just fell in love with the practice. And then a couple of years later, in 1999, I went out to the Kripalu Center in Lenox, Mass. and did my training there. And so I've been teaching yoga for 19 to almost 20 years.
Wow. Well, I wasn't going to ask because I wouldn't. That's an awesome experience. So your practice yoga, just like we practice everything else, how frequently do you practice? Is this a daily thing? Is it something where, you practice, but you finally get it right and so you can stop, or it's a lifelong practice?
It's a lifelong journey. It's not just about, doing postures on the mat. It's about a philosophy about being present and about every day what you're doing is to try to make it special. So if you're just like washing your dishes, like try to be present with that part of your life, so like you take your yoga practice off the mat in your daily life, no matter what you're doing, is to try to make it so that you're feeling more balanced, so as far as practicing yoga and doing postures and meditation, I teach a few classes a week and I do yoga with my students, so that's part of my practice. But other than that, I am doing some yoga at home, even if it's just for like a couple minutes. If I just sit and meditate for like 10 minutes, that's part of my yoga practice. Or if I find myself just needing a couple of stretches during the day. But it depends on where I am in my life and when I'm doing yoga. Sometimes I might do yoga every day and I might do an hour. Or some days I might skip a few days. I might do 20 minutes, if I might just need a few stretches. So it changes. I wouldn't say that I do, I get up every day at 7 o'clock and do yoga for an hour every day at that time. So I kind of just weave it into my life and in my practice and in the way I live, so.
You can do like intentional, like really focused yoga. But it sounds like you can also, you're always doing yoga if you're really trying to practice mindfulness. And if you take the practice at its core, everything we do, all the ways we walk, everything, all the ways that we act could have a yoga component to them. So it's when are you not practicing, I guess? Is that kind of the way you feel it? Or?
Right. And I'm practicing all the time because the most important thing is accessing your breath. They call it the prana, the life force. So, when you're feeling stressed and tense, the first thing we do is we might take a deep breath and sigh a breath out. And, so I find that when I feel anxious, sometimes I'll know that my breath will help to relieve that by just taking a deep breath and just by focusing on my sensation in my body, my senses, feel where I am, try to let go of the thinking mind and notice what's in my surroundings. What's the temperature in the room? What do I smell? What do I see? What do I feel? What do I hear? To take me back and be present in my body. And the breath will help as a vehicle that will help do that, because you can feel your breath. You can hear your breath, and then your mind can focus on, when you're doing some breathing, you can count the breath, so your mind is focused on that. So it really does help to bring you into the moment is the breath. So yoga for me helped me a lot, just to be present and learning to access more of the life force of the breath.
And remembering to breathe is always a good idea. If you forget to breathe, you can only go.
I mean, we don't forget to breathe, but sometimes we don't breathe the right way. We breathe really shallow. We breathe from our chest, and we're not breathing from the belly. So when we breathe, we want to inhale. We want the belly to soften, like a bellows or balloon. We want it to fill it out. And then we want to feel the breath hug the ribs and then expand to the chest. And sometimes we're just taking little breaths, and we're not realizing what we're doing. But once you know how to do a deep breath and you can access that, it really helps to calm your nervous system and relax you. That's what restorative yoga is all about, is about slowing yoga down, like really slowing it down, because you're holding poses for 5 minutes and you're in a pose and you're able to relax. So your body's able to relax more. So it helps the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and the digest. It helps to restore your body because you slow down the breath. You slow down, you slow everything down, because some yoga can be like, a lot of yoga today is a lot of vinyasa yoga, where you're like doing one pose to the next pose and you're linking the breath with the poses, but it's fast. It's more of a workout. Yeah. This is more passive stretching, where you're lying in a pose and holding, and you're feeling your muscles just relax, and you're focusing more on lengthening the breath and holding rather than moving and going fast.
The last class of kind of similar to this that I think I did was a Pilates class, which is very different. I thought I could go in, and I was in decent shape when I went in, but I went into like a kind of an intermediate Pilates class, and it kicked my butt because it was intense and fast. It sounds like the kind of yoga we're talking about, everybody can do. You're going to walk me through a pose here in a minute, but people who are coming and attending these sessions, they don't need to be worried about how much yoga they've done or what kind of shape that they're in. This is something that's going to work for everybody, and it's really meant to be adaptive and speak.
It is, because it's only a few poses, and it's really meditation and motion that we're moving really slow. So I will do a couple of gentle stretches before we lie in a pose. And when we transition from one pose to the next, we might just do a little bit of movement, and then we'll be in stillness. And I encourage my students, if they felt like a little antsy in the pose, just try to breathe through it. And if you absolutely need to move and adjust, then you need to listen to your body. But the idea is that you're stretching, but you don't want to feel like you're really stretching, so it's so passive that you don't even realize that you're even doing yoga in a way, right? Because it's so gentle, because you're allowing props of pillows and blankets to support you. So it's supported, and it's so restorative for your mind and your body. It's my favorite practice.
Some people like to do this.
And Yoga Nidra.
I'm sorry, you were
saying
Yoga Nidra?
So the Yoga Nidra part of it is, once we're in our last pose of Shavasana, relaxation, I'll do a 20-minute visual guided meditation. When Nidra means, Yoga Nidra means yoga sleep. So it takes you into what you call your 5 states of being. So it's very, it's systematically done, where I have you do body sensing, and I have you do a breathing exercise, and I'll take you on a journey. We'll go somewhere in nature, will be the last piece. I'll have you do body sensing, where I'll say, notice your right big toe, feel your toe, and I'll take you through all your toes. So I take you through your whole body, but you don't move your body. You just think about the parts. Mm-hmm. And then I might say, notice your body warm, like you're in the sun. And then notice that your hands are cool in the snow. So I have you sense opposites, feeling heavy or light or cold, not cold, cool or warm. It's pretty amazing practice, the Yoga Nidra. It's been scientifically studied, and they say that 20 minutes of this guided meditation can be equal to 3 hours of deep sleep, because it takes you into your state of being, where you're almost in that sleep state.
So you're saying that if I can't sleep for 6 hours, I can just do this a couple times a day, and I can pretty much skip sleeping and just binge watch Netflix. What a deal.
I don't know about that, but it's really another practice that's really calming for your nervous system.
Yeah.
You know, it helps to lower your blood pressure. You know, it helps to, you know, relax your whole body. So a lot of the stress that we have is due to like we have too much going on in our mind. You know, we're always like, it's that fight or flight. We're always like, you know, we have, especially what's been happening in the world, we're a lot of anxiety. So, you know, anxiety comes from the thinking mind. You know, we have a thinking mind and we have a creative mind. So if we can slow that thinking mind down and be in our creative mind and see, you know, the beautiful visions that I do in a meditation, it's very healing to ourselves. You know, and it's simple, just to slow down and listen to. And when you can slow down and do a restorative practice, you can listen to your body. You know, when you're moving fast in yoga, you're not necessarily able to listen as well as then when you're doing something slower, you know.
Makes a lot of sense.
Well, I find all this very fascinating, and I know that I could continue in this conversation for hours, but I don't want to take everybody who's watching us in that time, and people should come to the programs, and they'll get bits of this from there too. Perhaps you'd like me to walk me through a pose really quick so people can have a little sense of what's going to happen beyond, because it's not really going to be a lot of talking when people join these programs. It's going to be you walking us through these poses you've been talking about. So shall we try something?
Yeah, so I encourage everyone that is going to practice is, you know, you're at the comfort of your own home, is to have, you know, if you have a mat to lay on the floor, or if not, maybe some blankets, and to have some pillows. Now I have 3 of my bed pillows, and I have 2 of some toss pillows, and I have a blanket here. So you can't have too many pillows or blankets. You just want to make your nest. So one of the poses that's very restorative in just any regular general yoga practice is child's pose, and we do that pose regardless if we're doing restorative or not. But in a regular child's pose, we would do a pose, and child's pose would be, we would be here like this in a class, but for restorative, we would build up so that, you know, maybe you have sensitive knees. And, you know, I encourage people too, if in any yoga practice, is to take care of their knees. People will sometimes bring their own blanket or an extra cushion. But I might put like a pillow by my knees, by my shins, like that, if you want to set up a pillow this way and one across. This one lengthwise here. And then I'll have another pillow here on my head. So the idea is you want to be able to feel supported. I might even have 2 pillows under my chest. So I want to be able to relax and feel like I'm sinking. Maybe you don't like to have your knees as close. You want to have them a little wider. So maybe you have some supports under your knees if your knees are a little bit wider. So you want to feel yourself supported in every way. You don't want to feel like you're struggling to relax. It has to come really easy once you can soften your body into the pillows. And once you're there, you're just going to breathe and relax and just notice the sensation and where you feel it. Well, you'll feel a stretch, but it's different from when you don't have the supports. You can really take time to relax into the pose a little deeper. So then we'll hold this for like 5 minutes. And then I might say, okay, let's turn our head in the other direction, and we'll turn our head. And if that doesn't feel good, I'll encourage you to find a position, you know, maybe your arms want to come out like that. So it might just take a few minutes to adjust yourself to where you can really get into that pose where it feels good for your body, you know, because everyone will be different. You know, someone might not want the 2 pillows. Someone might say, well, I want to feel my stretch a little bit more, and they might take out a pillow. But just encouraging everyone to do what feels good for them, you know, so you can tuck it underneath the chest. You can't have too many props. You know, so you can use just ordinary bed pillows at home to make your nest, to build it up high for you, so you can just really sink in. If you are you regularly practice yoga and you have your props, if you have bolsters and you have blocks, that's what we use in the studio. We have blankets, bolsters, and blocks. Unfortunately, right now we can't use any of those things in the studio. We can use some blocks, but the bolsters and the blankets I don't use now because of COVID. So, people can bring their own when they're in studio. But this is nice because now you're at home and you can, we'll do a couple of poses and take you to a guided meditation. And then, you can be ready for bed. You don't have to worry about in the cold going home and driving.
Don't have to
So
put your
this is
food
just
on.
really here in your living room. It's really nice and easy. And I love it. I love the restorative. People are just so relaxed and they feel so good after. And you're doing such good work for yourself and you're doing those poses. So we'll do that one. We'll do a restorative child's pose. And if someone wants to join in and didn't feel like they could do all the poses, they could just modify for themselves, say, well, I can't even be on my knees. Maybe they just go into another pose. Maybe they just lie on their back and they just rest and just be present with the class, and they can wait until I do the yoga nidra part, with the guided meditation. So that could be an option too. If they didn't feel like they could get into a pose, one of the poses, they could just skip it and just lie back and, because we'll be doing this, we'll be relaxing and lying on our back. And, one of the poses we do is we bring our feet together and then we'll put pillows under the knees or the hips so that you're able to open. It's called reclining butterfly. And that is a really nice pose to encourage your hips to open. And you don't feel like you're struggling. Everything is supported to be able to just soften on its own without forcing it. So.
And before we talked about, sometimes you do this with music, sometimes, on Zoom, music doesn't work so well to share, but certainly we'll have people's mics muted when they're participating. So if they wanted to have some music that they find relaxing in the background, that would be a nice thing to set up.
Absolutely. I would actually encourage them to set up a nice space where they have maybe some candles lit, have some nice soft instrumental music. They can play some nice, anything that they like. It could be any kind of music, whatever relaxes you. Just something soft in the background, and that would be great. Because I think the set and the setting is just as important as seeing me do yoga and you doing the practice, is that you have to feel like your space is nice and clean. Don't have clutter around you. Try to pick a space where things are open as best you can. Have a nice candle, have some nice music. And
we're going to do these and we're going to start at 7:00. Should people, eat? What's the best kind of timing for eating around this? Should they wait till afterwards to eat, or do you recommend, does it really matter?
Well, it's because it's at 7:00. It might be late for people to, I don't know what people's schedules are when they eat. Some people eat later at night. So we're doing a 75-minute class. So maybe if they wanted to eat before, maybe they have their dinner by like 5:30 or 6.
Okay.
5. They say typically 2 hours before yoga, but we're not really doing much movement either. So I wouldn't worry about it because we're not like jumping up. We're not jumping around,
right.
So, if you were like, coming home from work and you got home at 6:30 and you need to eat, you were hungry, absolutely eat, because you don't want to like think the whole time you're relaxing that I need to eat.
Can't wait for this to get over so I can have something.
Yeah, I can't wait for this to be over so I can eat and have that a distraction. So even if you didn't want to eat a full meal, maybe you could have a snack or something. But, typically at a regular yoga class, I would say, if, don't eat a big, giant, heavy meal, then do yoga right after. You usually want to try to digest your food. But, we'll be doing poses where we'll be relaxing and where we're in that mode, we're relaxing the nervous system. That's the best way to digest your food. you know, so it might be okay.
You may want to have a nice
Have a little bit of food, but not too much. You know, don't want to make yourself bloated, uncomfortable. That's all. I mean, you know, everyone knows their body and what they need. So
we're really trying to learn to know our bodies. Yeah.
You know, some people have to eat on the fly and they have to eat when they eat, you know, so I don't want that to be a deterrent for people not coming because they feel like they need to eat, you know, so whatever they feel.
And certainly if people are, you know, if people have other people in their home, they'd like to do it together. This is a great thing to do in partnership. It's, you know, it's really nice to be able to share these experiences with folks. So I would encourage folks who, if you have a supportive partner or, you know, a parent or a child with you in the house, encourage them to do it with you. I think that would be great to have as many people. That's kind of the beauty of doing these in homes, is we can reach so many more people. And people who may be skeptical, just give it a try. I bet you they'll be surprised.
Exactly. This yoga is for everybody. Everybody can do this yoga. If they don't feel comfortable even doing the restorative, they absolutely can do the yoga nidra, because all you need to do is, you don't even need to sit. You can lie down. We're going to be lying down doing yoga nidra. But if someone was uncomfortable, you know, saying, oh, I can't get on the, you know, some people might not be able to get up and off the floor. So if that's that person, then they can sit on their couch or on their chair and just as easily just listen and maybe, you know, just try to, like, you know, be present in the moment, you know, wherever they are, on a chair, on the floor. You know, I can't say what time I'll start the yoga nidra, like, part of it. It's hard to say, like, how the flow is going and when I'll start that, because I could say, oh, I'm going to do yoga from 7 to 7:45, and then 7:45 we're going to do yoga nidra. So I don't, you know, but, you know, typically the yoga nidra will be at the end of the class for about 20 minutes. So, but if people wanted to just listen for that and, you know, just watch, they certainly could. They don't have to do it. They could just, you know, check it out and see what's happening.
And people can join with their cameras on or with their cameras off. Obviously, if they're, you know, not comfortable inviting us into their bedroom, they don't have to have their video on.
Exactly. Don't have to have their video on at all. I teach several Zoom classes at the studio, and some people have their video off. Some people I can see, and I don't require that I see them. And it's hard to really monitor and watch everybody, what they're doing on Zoom at home. You know, that's the thing. When you're in studio, you can really walk around and see what everyone's doing, but it's really hard, you know, in this format. But I'm just encouraging people, if something doesn't feel that, you know, even because it's gentle or restorative, there may be an injury or something your body's not able to do. I mean, if you just had knee surgery, you're not going to want to maybe be on your knees, you know, but you might be able to if you were kneeling on a pillow. It might be different. You know, you might realize, oh, I can do this because I have this support, you know.
Well, Christine, I am really excited. I'm really looking forward to these sessions. I think they're going to be very relaxing and hopefully very restorative. This is going to be a new type of yoga for me to try. I've done some other types, but never this exactly. And it's just this little bit of exposure tonight has me all the more excited. So thank you so much for coming to us and for sharing these gifts and talent that you have for this meditative practice. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate the opportunity to help people at home to become more relaxed and release their tension that they have, you know, accumulated from 2020, you know, so helping to release all of that and to give themselves a gift of themselves to feel that relaxation, that they can feel that calmness within themselves just by taking time to listen to their body and their breath, you know. Thank you.
We certainly do need to all figure out how we can relax and release. And
yeah, such a busy world, you know, and we have so much social media and the news, and there's so much going on in our heads that, you know, we need to just put it away sometimes. And, you know, this will help us to heal our bodies. Like the word disease in itself, the dis-ease, is what causes us to become sick. So if we have ease in our bodies, if we're doing restorative practices like meditation and yoga, that will help us to become healthy in our physical bodies, you know.
Hope you've enjoyed my conversation just now with Christine Way-Cotter. She will be leading a 6-part series on restorative yoga and yoga nidra, starting on Tuesday, January 12th at 7 o'clock and continuing for 6 Tuesdays in a row at 7 o'clock. It'll be live on Zoom and on our YouTube and Facebook channels. I hope you'll join us. It's going to be quite an experience. I'm really looking forward to it.